my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance to spit in his eye. Oh, well, they gave me bars, but I can see between to a dusty yard and long gone green. They call that freedom, if you know what I mean. And I dry my sorrows, but the whiskey's gone.
Hello everybody, welcome to Heidbangers. I'm Matty, joined tonight by Gordon, Alex and Scott. How are you all guys?
Oh, good.
Excellent, good to hear. We'll do our usual wee bit of housekeeping while I remember. So this is our mental health podcast, but none of us are mental health experts. We might talk about things that you might find triggering. You may hear my dog barking in the background as well. I apologise for that in advance. And if you are struggling, please do get proper help from somebody that knows what they're talking about, or at least reach out to a friend. Tonight's topics, we're going to be talking about body image, feeling self-conscious about your body, which is probably something that a lot of guys don't own up to. And we'll also be talking about social media, which again is always topical these days because everything seems to kind of revolve around social media. So we'll get underway. Now I had kind of brought up the idea of talking about body image earlier on. I'd been listening to a podcast earlier in the week, and it was folk similar age to myself that had mentioned that you get at a point where you feel like you're invisible. Yeah, I don't know what you're like in your sort of late teens, early 20s, mid 20s, where you were probably, well, I felt quite good about myself at that age. You go out and you'd be, doing what young men do, and you would get a lot of attention. You look good and all the rest of it. Now sitting mid 40s, and just like a fucking fat mess. That feeling of being invisible is fucking grim. And I just wondered, what do you guys? Do you feel that as well? Do you have like that kind of look in the mirror and think, "Fuck's sake"?
I was on my bike today. I took my wee lad out to the Porty High School car park, and I caught my image in like the reflection of the building, and it was just a fucking potato on wheels with a helmet. So having, like you mentioned, the topic earlier on, and that was in my head, and I just laughed at it. I'm like, fucking hell, man! Like you can see yourself, but like I weigh myself regularly, and I've really only got I know why I put weight on. I just sit and eat shite. I didn't burn it off the way that I should be, and it's just well, put the effort in, and I'll get back to a stage where I think I looked all right, but I guess I'm just settled and comfy eating shite in the house. That's the problem.
One of the things about it though is like I think most people do know what you need to do to not look and feel like this.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason it's fucking difficult to just kind of get in the mindset to do it. We were on holiday one time. This was when I kind of realised, not that I didn't realise before, right? Because you obviously have mirrors and things like that, right? But we were on holiday in the south of France, one of these sort of Euro camp places, and I think I might have told this story in the podcast before, like ages ago. It was when the World Cup was on, and the entertainment team for the camp would go around through the day with a wee video camera, and they would do like wee vox pops with people to see what the score is going to be tonight, who do you think is going to win, what game you're looking forward to, and then when you went to the bar in the evening, you go watch the football on the big screen, and they would pre and post match they would show everybody who'd been there. Anyway, the cameras had been at the pool, and I'd been in with my kids who were wee at the time, so you had to go in the pool, which was in the toddler pool, and this Eurocamp, and fuck Eurocamp for doing this. They make you wear Speedos. You can't wear swimming shorts.
Whoa.
You have to wear fucking Speedos.
How the hell can they do that?
What pervert is running that camp?
It's in their T's and C's, and they stopped me because the first day I was like, nobody's fucking enforcing that. And the first day I went in, I had like swimming shorts on, and after the lifeguard was over, I said, "No, it needs to be like trunks." So anyway, I'm in a pool that was probably waist high on me, right? So the Speedos weren't that much of an issue. I didn't feel self-conscious with them because nobody looks good in Speedos, right? But I looked fucking massive. It was like pasty white Scottish man. It was like first week we were there, huge belly, just standing in the pool, and they had it on the big screen with everybody everybody's sitting there ready for the football to watch it. I remember the kids are laughing, and I laugh at it as well, right? Because I can see the funny side, but it was fucking horrible. Like, you know, you're laughing because you put on a bit of a brave face with these things, but it's like, fucking hell, that's what I look like now. And it's just the best. And sometimes I think you forget. Sometimes I forget what I look like, and you can be feeling quite good about yourself. And then, like you say, Alex, you catch a wee glimpse of yourself, and you're going, that's disappointing.
I did laugh at it, like when I seen myself. I thought, well, fucking hell, this is what you look like now. So either do something about it or don't. That's the way I answered it to myself. But I've got the wee man beside me, and he's cycling away, and I thought, well, I need to do something for him. That's a wee shock to the system for me. And I thought, well, I can get him out on his bike for him to learn and me to get a bit of exercise as well. Great excuse. And the clocks have changed and the weather will be better and a lot better time. So that's probably what I'll be doing now.
There's two things there, isn't there? There's like physical health, like stopping you doing stuff that you want to do, and like physical appearance. And I think you can, because I've played 5-a-side football, 11-a-side football with guys that are like twice the size of me, much fitter than me. And like, it doesn't mean to say that because you're big boned or you've got a big belly that you're only fit. And I think it's like what you're saying, Matty, about like how you felt there, which is obviously totally valid, but it's a confidence thing. Like, I think I've seen guys just own that and they make it look good, and you wouldn't think. But if you're like a shrinking violet and you're like, covering yourself, I think you make yourself more conscious. Like, think about what's his name, Ray Winston in Sexy Beast. Like, he just completely owned having quite a. I mean, he wasn't massive at the time, but he had a bit of a belly and stuff. Like my wife, so that's her guilty like pleasure in terms of who she fancies is Ray Winston, and I'm like, and he just owns the hairy chest and stuff. He just owns his body, and I think a lot of it is to do with that. And I know we're going to speak about. You mentioned social media. We've conditioned ourselves to think I look shit because I don't look as good as that person looks, and we lose the confidence, which then it spirals in our head. But obviously, you've got to do it for yourself. It's like who you're doing it for. That's the important part. Who are you wanting to look like that for? Is it for you or is it for everybody else? I think that's where the mental health side comes into it.
It's that movie, isn't it? Where when he goes to the gym and the man goes, "What do you want to do?" He goes, "I want to look good naked." And that's all he says to the gym man. "I just want to look good naked." And that's all people. I don't want to be fit. I don't want to be toned. I just want to look good naked. That's all you want from your life. What was it? It was the one with the petals falling where he fell in love with the naked girl.
American Beauty.
That's the one, yeah. And that's what he says to the PT guy. I don't know. You can't say his name like it's being about, but yeah, it was him who said it. That's fine.
What you said about. Sorry.
I was going to say where I struggle with it is I never used to be big. Do you know, like when I met my wife, I was 10 stone, maybe. Do you know, like we were meeting a butcher's pencil type thing. It was like just skinny as fuck, and I was always skinny. I never had to work at being skinny. Then I could eat what I want, and I was fairly active. And then I moved in with her at Stenhouse Cross, and there was a really good baker's there. Then sat having pies, good Chinese there, and then stopped going out so much, stopped walking as much, and then next thing I remember the first time I really noticed that I'd gone too far is I had this like nice diesel belt, and I went to put it on, and it didn't go all the way around my waist. I was like, "Fuck's, the belt shrunk," and another belt's still shrunk. That's not what the issue is here. and then just never ever got it back. But I would go to the gym and smoked as well, and I wouldn't recommend smoking as a way to keep the weight off, but it definitely was a factor. Stopped smoking, stopped going to the gym. We had my first child, and just it's like I never had time to do anything, and all that stuff that I would do for myself before just went, and then just piled on the weight. So I'm like nearly 17 stone now, which is just about double the weight I was back at that time. That's fucking ridiculous. Double the weight nearly.
You're a big boy now, though. You're an adult, so that means you're allowed to. If you
well, this is
teenagers are quite light. Or can be.
No, it's the thing. Your metabolism slows as you get older as well. Everything's
Yeah.
10 times harder to do. You are gonna put on like weight unless you are like dedicating hours of your day to working out. Like it's just natural. It's just going to happen. So you just try not to be too hard on yourself with it. But it's happened to me, isn't it?
I've mentioned before on this podcast that I joined a football. It's not even competitive. It's just fat guys like getting their game, playing football, and I got invited along. I thought, "Aye, fine." And it's what you're saying, Gordon. Loads of them are fit as hell, but they're just the big guys, and they're all trying to just better themselves. They all help each other out, and like they didn't give a shit. And there are people watching. You just couldn't care less when you're kicking a ball about. It's great, and it really has helped me. I even said it to them. I'm like, look, I never really struggled with mental health, but this has made me feel better about myself. I said it to them, and they were like, "Aye, fucking right." And some of them said on the chat, like, "Oh, aye, we should talk about that more often." Like, "Aye, you should." And then I got the first ripped at me as well, so it was fair game. I mean, some of them take it differently. Some of them listen to every episode of this as well, so they'll know who they are.
Thanks for listening to them. It can be quite hard, though, as a guy when you're overweight, or I can moan about my white hair as well, right? Which is just one of these things I can't help it, that's genetic. You hear all the stories that kind of the jokes about you've been painting the ceiling, and folk didn't think twice about making a fat joke to a guy, like the amount of time somebody will kind of comment on your gut, or and it's like normal, you wouldn't do that obviously to a woman because it's not a nice thing to do. But I think why it's a nice thing to do to guys either. Like, and I think folks just assume you're not self-conscious about it. But,
I went to a holiday park in wherever it was. It was the biggest water park in the world, right? So everyone was just in shorts, flip-flops, no tops. That's fine, and I was fine with it. And then I went down the biggest water slide, and it would go through a shark pool, and they videoed it. I was so proud of it. I went down this massive drop, went through a shark pool, and they videoed it. And every time I showed people, I stopped it just before I walked at the water with my boobs flapping as I'm walking up the water, trying to look cool, like a really obese Daniel Craig. But I just wanted to show people what I did. But then I got to the bit where I was like waddling out. I was like, and there you go, you've seen it now. You can just pause it there. And I should have been proud of the fact I did that. But instead, all in my head, I was thinking, don't show them. Just where you've got your boobs out, you've got your belly out, and stuff. And that's the only thing I think about when I see that video. Instead of going, I did that drop, went to a shark pool, did the thing. No, all I can think about is my tits. So that's really, it's ruined it for me, and it's a really weird thought that I've connected that to that instead of going the amount of fun I had. It was a really good day out. The video's still on my phone. I'll show it to you later, but I will edit it before I start doing that. But yeah, it's annoying. It really is annoying. But on the other hand, I have a without sounding too thinky, we have a thing called a bear community in the gay culture. So technically, if I get bigger and fatter and hairier, that's sexier in the gay community. I know Alex is licking his lips right now, but it's a thing with the gay community. They don't judge you on your size. In certain communities, they judge you on your size and your weight and stuff. They like that. They go, oh, big fat man, I'm into that. You know what I mean? And to me, it could be a double-edged sword where if I was single, I'd be like, I'll be in that bear community. I'll be a bear, as it were. And I wouldn't be judged on my size or my weight. I'd be lauded for it. I'd be like, they'd be more turned on by it, as it were. So that's double-edged because you're thinking, well, I'm not going to bother losing weight because people are finding this attractive or, looking attractive. So in a way, that's not. Yeah. So yeah, I would be like attracted to people, but I'd be thinking,
I don't know. I know what you mean by that. I don't know when it was, but I noticed something online that it was girls talking about dad bods.
Dad bods, yeah.
I was like, what the fuck's that? And then I like looked into it, and it's belly, tits, hairy back, and that. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
oh, at least there's a market for me if it ever goes wrong. Like, kind of like,
But I think the tide's turning. That sort of six-pack, shaved, everything, fucked and tweaked is sort of going out the window. People are realizing that's not what people look like anymore. And I get that. But then it also makes you think, I won't bother changing. If this is what's turning them on, I won't bother changing. But I think we do sort of tweak ourselves every now and then and go, yeah, that belt's digging into my belly. I'm gonna pass on the dessert today.
I think it is. It probably is turning a little bit, but I don't. I think it's always been. Again, it's depending on. I think that's always been there for certain people. So you're saying that there's in the gay community, there's a market for it, but I think that's the same for. Like I just said, like my wife, like she likes men that are like she considers real men. You know what I mean? Like in inverted quotes, but there's a lot of women out there that like men that have got dad bods or that are bigger or any the opposite sex, the same sex, whatever that you're attracted to. I don't think it's ever been that everybody in the world has only ever been attracted to someone who is physically fit or in appearance. I think again, it's just a confidence thing that you're saying there that, or who you're doing it for. That you're saying there, why would I bother? Because I know these people. But then to me, that's you're doing it for other people. Whereas if you're just comfortable with yourself and you just are where you are, then things will be a lot easier. No worrying about how much weight you're putting on or whatever. As long as you're comfortable and happy with how your physical health is in terms of your cardio.
When I was in my 20s, I've got the same body shape I had in my 20s. I've never not been a big guy, right? I've always had a hairy chest, always had a hairy back. When I was younger, I'd wear a shirt up to my neck. I'd have long sleeve shirts on. I would hate my body, right? And then I hit my mid 20s, early 30s, and I just thought, who am I hiding from? What am I selling? This ain't changing. This ain't going anywhere. And then I got that confidence of just going, right, this is me. I'm going to put my Hawaiian shirts on. I'm going to be Mr. And I may not like it, but I'm not changing it. This ain't going anywhere. You just got to sort of go, I'm comfortable in the skin I'm in. And you have to get to that point. And not everyone gets to that point. They spend their entire lives on diets or changing this or getting hair transplants or changing this. And I'm just like, this ain't changing. So just go. Here I am. You know what I mean?
So I felt similar. Like, so I've been like right into mod culture since I was 13-year-old, and I've always been. And I'm not like I say to people, I need to lose weight. They're like, there's nothing to you. You don't need to lose weight. I'm not a massive guy by any means, but I'm still considered overweight if you look at your BMI and your body fat and stuff. But the reason why I want to lose weight just now and I feel a bit conscious about how I look just now is because the way I've always dressed and my style, with skinny jeans, slim shirt like Fred Perry, button right up, as you were saying it there, button right up, that sort of slim sort of style, and that's for me. But I can't pull it off as well as I did before, and I've got like really expensive like shirts that I can't wear anymore because it's like they're bulging at the belly.
If they wear big top, that sort of outfits, they don't look right, do they?
Yeah. So, but that's kind of for I just like that style, and I've always liked dressing that way, and it makes me feel good. And my body shape just now is kind of stopping me from doing that. So the reason why I'm trying to get healthier and fitter and lose weight is to fit into that style again, so I can look like a mod. But that's it. I mean, it seems daft, but it is the main reason. And I'm going on holiday then in September, October, and like it'll be hot, and I want to feel comfortable taking my top off, but I'm not that bored. Like you're saying, Alex, dad bods. Like I know that my wife, well, I think she loves me, and I think she thinks I'm sexy, and I certainly hope she does. But as long as she's all right with me taking my top off, I don't really care what other folk think.
I think it's. I know this is going to sound really cliche, but as long as you're okay in your own skin, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. I will take my top off at a moment's notice, but I'm more worried about like my eczema on my arms, on my neck, or there's a patch just there. The fat and the hair doesn't bother me. It's the bad skin that bothers me. That to me stands out more, and it doesn't to anyone else. But that to me stands out more than anything that's wrong with the rest of it.
I've got
my mind, I'll always be conscious of that more than my chubby tits or whatever on my belly. I'll be thinking, oh, is anyone looking at my neck, or is anyone looking at the eczema on my arms?
Just when you're saying that there, I've got a mate, and I've never thought about this now until you were just kind of mentioning these things like eczema and got hairy back and all this kind of stuff. I've got a mate who, he is like the hairiest guy I've ever seen. And every time we're on holiday or whatever, he takes his top off. We always make a joke saying, "You're going to take that jumper off as well, mate." And like he laughs it off and he just kind of like owns it. But I've never really thought, like, does he maybe get upset about that? And you said that, Matt, is like no one ever thinks twice about like sort of body shaming a male.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take my top off right now, but I will be worried about this patch on my neck and there's a bit of this. That everything else doesn't bother me except for that horrible little itchy bit of flaky skin that's there that no one can see.
I can remember being, I don't know how this came into my head, but when you were talking there, I remember being out with my mate, like when we were early 20s, and I think maybe 4 of us were out, and we met some lassie pals, and we ended up talking about like how would you make the perfect guy out of what we are, like what you see out of us, and they all said something different that we weren't expecting. And me and my mate used to like fix our hair and that, like just constantly. I know you were ripping the piss out of me at the start of the call for that, Scotty, but it just looks shit now. So anyway, so my mate thought that they would all say your hair, like for him, like my mate's body, he's a swimmer. We're like, it'll be his body, and they all said something different. And they went, I would pick Alex's arms. I was like, what the fuck, what are you on about? And they went, well, you've got Builder's arms. I went, and I had a Builder's tan as well. I'm like, fucking hell, I wasn't expecting that. And then they said my hair, and my mate was raging because they didn't pick his hair. So it was quite weird to hear what they seen, what we thought was going to be obvious answers. They said something completely different. And then I can't mind if the game went like roles reversed or no, but I think it would have been a complete shock as well. But I can remember my mate being raging, and if he's listening, he'll ken exactly who he is. That they didn't pick his hair because he spent ages on it.
Anybody's sense of humour? Is there a bit like that?
Yeah, and yeah.
He's got a sense of humour.
This is the thing, is we don't see it from another person's point of view. I would never look at myself and go, oh, you've got really nice eyes, you've got really nice smile, blah, blah, blah. But that's the compliments I get. Really, I mean, I'm not really at it. But when you look at someone like Alex, yes, I would take his hair in a heartbeat. I'd scalp him in a second. He doesn't see that. It's really good hair. I want, like, you don't. I say no one's got my personality, but that is quite high on the list. But you've got to still have that sort of element that other people go. I mean, can I say this without being too crude? But I mentioned this today, that someone out there has thought about you when they masturbated, and that's a really good thought to keep in your head. Where you think, yeah, okay, yeah, there's someone out there in my life plan as well. Yeah, they're fair.
It's you, Scott, though, isn't it? You're the one that's thought about all else.
Sorry, Alex. I did.
That's right. You're only
before so I did do that a lot. Thanks for the nudes.
Not at all. Anytime.
Right, on that note, will we move the discussion on the social media and the perils and pitfalls of social media?
Aye.
Sorry, man. I was just going to say, look, so before the call, I did a few years ago, because I work as a web programmer, I did a presentation on social media because I do a lot of work with social media, and I'm in the marketing department and all that kind of stuff. So I dragged it out, and I brought up I've got some like stats and stuff, and I thought we could maybe like build into the conversation. Obviously try to keep it topical. But I was going to say, like, as a segue from the body image to social media, I think it's really interesting to see like this. So this stat here is quite telling. So people aged between 18 and 29 account for, like, 18 to 29 year olds 84% of them use social media. 30 to 49-year-olds, it goes down to 81, and then it keeps going down. 65 and above is 45%. So when you're thinking about 18 to 29-year-olds, so young people, and I don't know what the stats are for, because I think people under 18 technically aren't supposed to be using certain social medias, but they are. So there will be a higher number below 18-year-old. That things like Instagram, and when we're talking about body and how we feel about our bodies and social media, we know, you just know that affects. So there's studies that basically have shown that there's a heavy link between increased risk in depression, anxiety, suicide, that are all brought from feelings of inadequacy. Easy for me to say. And that's born out social media, and the highest majority number is that age group. So if they're at that age, seeing these people, your Kim Kardashians, all these people that are putting things on social media, and they're thinking that's the way I need to look, they've got a complex right from an early age. And you can see.
It was a big thing, wasn't it?
Sorry, what was it?
Thigh gaps, where people would fake their thigh gaps, and they'd have certain people that gap. They wanted a gap between their thighs. I thought that was disgusting, where people would. Yeah.
Is that so you could slide down banisters?
Yeah. Yeah. No.
But you got I think when we were growing up and you had magazines and stuff like that, it was you had to have an expert that could Photoshop an image of in Playboy or something like that. But now it's all on your phone, filters and stuff are just there. People can edit their appearance in seconds. So everybody, all these influencers and stuff that are posting up things, they're constantly using these filters and making themselves look a lot better than they actually do, which shouldn't really matter. But obviously that does to other people, and they're seeing that and go, I want to look like that. I want to be like that. And I think I've seen in an article I looked up before we came on the call is that there's been a massive uptake at plastic surgeon places, clinics, of when people are going in, the majority of people show a picture of someone on Snapchat or Instagram to say, I want to look like this. And if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about the body image side of stuff and how you need to look and how social media plays into that, then I don't know what does. It has a massive effect on it, especially at a younger age by the stats.
So,
Say again?
you should see what that really looks like. They're using these filters. That social media.
I think it's.
Sorry, Scott, you go.
I do think. Look, right. So we're a generation before Instagram and online and shit, and we've still got these body images. Like we were talking about before, going, I feel flabby and weird and stuff. So if we think at our generation, we still think of ourselves a bit. Now imagine that tenfold, where every photo you take has got to be from above. If you see someone taking a group photo, you go, can I have a look at it before you post it online? It's tenfold worse now. If someone takes a photo of you, you've got to sort of go and pose. We never had that 20, 30 years ago, but we still feel bad about our bodies. So now these people have got every time they go out, every time they have a dance, every time they go, it's online. Every image is online. It's worse for them. And I would hate to be a teenager now. I would hate to be a teenager then and have all my pictures taken and be online. No. All my clubbing photos, all my going out pictures, don't want them online. It's the whole generation where every girl and every photo you drink.
Yeah.
I want that,
No, those stats, and even though I kind of picked out 18 to 29-year-olds as obviously it's getting drilled into us, the stats for 30 to 49-year-olds still 81%. So I think this is in the US, by the way, but it'll be very similar here. Western countries will be very similar. So if you're 30 to 49-year-olds, 81% of 30 to 49-year-olds are using social media, and that's I think there's something nearly 4 billion people worldwide using social media, which is nearly 50% of the world's population. It's just absolutely ginormous.
See, I never filter. Like you'll only see me from the tits up anyway. You will never see that lower down part. It's gross. But a lot of people do filter their photos before they put them online. I will take a good angle, but I will never. I will put a filter on. I won't put the hues on and stuff. But a lot of people do feel the need to have every single image of themselves edited and tweaked and plucked to it. So I look like a mad scientist right now. That's fine. The hair's up there, the beard's up there. That's okay. I'm okay with myself looking like a bit shit sometimes because we all look a bit shit sometimes. And that's great. But you have to have that confidence to be able to go, you know what? Not every day I look perfect. And not everyone's got that. And as I say, it's an age thing as well. And I'm glad to be my age. What was that? I'm glad to be my age and just go, I don't care anymore. But these kids aren't getting there yet because they're half our age. It's a strange time for them, and it's horrible as well.
You've got me thinking about older generations with what you said, because I remember being up at my granddad's one day, and all the aunties and uncles were there, and they would dig out old pictures and pass them round and look. And every single photo, my granddad looks dapper as fuck. Like he was really, really a good-looking man.
Because he knew a photo was coming, so he made an effort for it. Because back then, you didn't take a photo every 5 minutes, did you?
It didn't matter what they were doing. They could be at the beach or whatever, and he's in a suit or a shirt looking. But I wonder if they looked at the pictures and went, "Fucking hell, look at me there." But we're seeing them looking slick. Or my auntie and that are dressed up and it's all wedding pictures or whatever. I wonder if they all think, oh, fucking hell, why did they wear that? Or they never mentioned it. They couldn't edit it. Once the picture was taken, that's it done.
But you have to wait a week for it to come back from boots, didn't you, to be developed? So it's not like you were like, I can change the hat or I can change the top. It's like, now it's instant. It's like, but this is what gets me, is like, someone takes a photo and it's online in 30 seconds and I haven't seen it, and then suddenly I'm like online forever. I'm like, no, but no, okay. And even at my age, I still think that's like, let me have a look at what you do out with that. But people half our age just, it's bullying on anything, and I don't like that. I think it's without sounding too cliche, a RuPaul saying is, if you don't love yourself, how on earth can if you don't love yourself, how on earth is anyone else going to love you? And you have to like yourself first or love yourself first. And a lot of kids these days don't love themselves. They see themselves through a lens or through a filter, and they have to go, this is me, this is what I am, this is what I do. I'm a lumpy, weird child. I'm dealing with it. Right, here I am. And that's the hardest part of life. I don't know if it's kicked in for anyone, but kicked in for me back in mid-30s. So you have to wait for it to kick in.
I think it's spot on though about like it's comparing against other people, but also comparing against themselves. Like you put a picture up with a filter and you look amazing, and then you look in the mirror and you're like, fucking, do I look like that? And then you feel really shit about stuff. And I suppose that I think social media platforms need to take more responsibility. I know like Instagram have done things like where they've banned certain keywords and hashtags for things like eating disorders and things like that, and they limited the amount of likes that a post can get, so it doesn't get too big. And I think that was probably born out of one of Kim Kardashian's posts, because it was just going everywhere and everybody got it, and it was creating body negativity for other people and other things. So I think that they're starting to, but I know it'll be difficult, but I genuinely think social media platforms need to take more responsibility for the effect they're having on people's mental health in general.
Social media is relatively new, so while that happening, nobody would have seen it coming. Like, you've got to think, like, nobody would have thought this is the way that it's going to go. It went enormous. Like, it was probably an experiment at first. What was the first one? MySpace? Or
I think
or something like that, wasn't it?
I don't know. People
it's like a pendulum, right? So it went too far that way, and now it's going too far that way. Where if you even say hello, you get bad response. Well, actually, it's even, and how rude are you? And you don't know me. So it's gone too far where everything is looked at and people react to every single thing you say. and every single image you put on. So I think it's swinging too far that way. With people going, well, actually, all I said was hello, or I put a picture of myself on saying hello, and suddenly I've been attacked. You know, you have to wait for it to swing back to go. I'm literally just saying hello here, guys. Why have you broke me? Why have you attacked me? And I think we're at that angle now where everything is offensive. Every image is offensive. Everything you say is offensive. Every link you send is offensive. And I think we've gone too far now to that extreme where you can't even saying hello offends somebody. And we have to bring it back down to chill out a bit. You know, come on, calm it down.
How easy do you find it not reacting to something that you don't like on
Very easy.
Twitter, Facebook, etc.? I mean, just walking past it, because that seems to be the issue. Like there are people there who just can't walk past something that they don't like.
Personally, I think it's quite easy. It's I see quite a lot on. For me, social media is Facebook and Twitter. That's the two that I use. And Twitter is probably one I use far more often. And if something comes up and they've been like covering or censoring videos that you may not want to see, like it's probably right. Maybe you didn't want to see that, so just scroll to the next thing. I use Twitter to go for my amusement, for a laugh or news. That's my approach to Twitter. Follow me on there. I talk shite. I just tweet shite. It's usually just a thought comes in, tweet it. I'm like, if I find it funny, it'll go out. That's it. If I don't, I'll just no say anything, or I'll try and think of a joke or something. But if you see something you didn't like, I just scroll. That's it. Then you are effectively walking past it.
I'm the same. Sorry, I'm just going to say I'm the same. You go, Scott.
I was going to say, do you find yourself censoring yourself a lot more than you used to? Back in the day, I go, I broke your tit. And like mention it and go, oh, look at this. Yeah. Now I'm just going, I just don't care. And just scroll on to the next thing. And I think that's a lot of thing now is when you feel like you're going to offend somebody by making a comment. So you just go, I'm not in the mood for an argument today, so I'll just scroll on and leave it. You know?
But if you're doing that yourself, you're like me and you doing the exact same thing there, scrolling past because you don't care. Does everybody else think that, or some people looking for stuff to wind other people up, or how does it work? Everybody's got a different approach.
You must have been tempted at some at points. So because I'm like that, where I find it quite easy, but there is times where I'm tempted, and there has been times where I've started typing something about, nah, it's not worth it, and then I'll delete it and then move on. But I've been close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, never argue with an idiot, because from a distance, no one can tell the difference. You know what I mean? They're arguing on the internet. Who's coming across the best there? No one's winning when you argue with an idiot on the internet.
Nobody's going to change their mind either, are they? Like,
no. Yeah,
no.
I've never had my mind changed by an opinion.
I've never had an argument or discussion with someone like on social media, probably out with social media as well, that they've turned around and went, actually, you're right, I've been wrong this whole time. never happens, does it? Never happens. People just feel it right.
A few years ago, I got told never to talk about religion or politics online. And for that very reason, you're never changing somebody's mind, and they're never changing your mind. And that has, since then, that's been my approach. But it's very hard to avoid everything, especially with the way the country's run and all that. We'll no name names that we can be and Ories and that. But that kind of thing. It's hard to rein yourself in, but you've voiced your opinion on like, what the fuck does it matter? Somebody might read it, somebody might know.
See, like, I know the answer to this, but Alex, obviously you're like Twitter famous, pretty much. And when you're posting something, and normally it's like something that's really funny, do you go back and look at how many likes it's had and stuff, and go, oh, that's had more likes than the last thing I said, and then adjust what you're doing, like going forward? Is there any part of you that's doing it for anybody's approval, or are you just doing it to have a laugh?
Again, I never really look at numbers. I turned the notifications off because it just goes nuts. Matty, you'll be the same. Comments on podcasts and Aye, just,
No, I don't
so nah, I never really look at the numbers or whatever. Like if I'm tweeting drunk, that's the worst one I think, because you just talk even more shite, and then you go back in the next morning like fucking hell, why did I say that? And then that's when you see numbers and whatnot, and then read replies. So nah, I don't know. I never really pay much attention. I don't know if I should.
I think it's a healthy thing to do. Like we use Twitter primarily to promote the podcast. Right? And that's how we build up a wee community around it and we interact with people, which is great. And I love it for that. Like the amount of people, well, this whole group, like the 3 people I'm speaking to right now, I would not know if it wasn't for Twitter.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
And that goes like John, who's on Longbangers, would not know him at all. And he's one of my closest friends now. Like I absolutely adore the big guy. And so there's so many positives from it. I was saying this to Jane. We were coming in, so we were talking about my daughter, and she's having a few issues with some of her friends at the moment. And
how old's she though to be online? Is she young enough or?
so she's just about to turn 13. She's just hitting her teens. She's not really,
So that delicate age we have to get.
she'll be Snapchat like or whatever. That's what her pals are on. I'm about kind of giving too much of her business, so it's not really my place to say.
Yeah.
Just some issues with our group of friends, and my wife was saying, I wonder how my other daughter, how did she go about making a huge circle of friends? How did she go about that? All of it was driven by social media, and Jay was like, I'm not really that keen on it, and I used the long, and I'll call it Longbangers community. It's just it's like Hibs Twitter or whatever, as an example of really positive use of social media, because we've done some good things with the podcast, but actually the amount of people now that I will, I can bump into and speak to them. I've never met them. Like I can bump into people. There's folk that will come and speak to me Easter Road when we're down there, and we'll have a chat about the podcast. And it's brilliant because they feel like you know you, and because I've interacted with them on Twitter. There's that whole bit of it which is really really positive. The flip side, and I'm quite lucky with Longbangers especially, that we've not really had the negative side where somebody's gone and on the attack at us and had like really negative. So we could put like a tweet out, and sometimes the stuff that we tweet, you could see somebody would take offence to it or whatever, but it's always well intentioned. Like, you only ever do it for a cheap laugh at best, and that's kind of what we put in our bios. At best, this is said for a cheap laugh. Don't take it seriously. Sometimes people do. I think the worst we've had was one of the boys on the Hibs Talk podcast that called us nonsense. Like he came after us one time, called us nonsense because, why was it? It was something fucking really daft as well. Because Craig, who's one of the guys who used to, he was on the Longbangers early days, had come up with the nickname Dookie Tripod for Josh Doig. Because he's probably got a massive cock or something like that. And Doig was 19 at the time, and so this boy's going, oh, he's a fucking nonsense, trying to slate us on Twitter. And so at that point, you've got 2 choices. You either go and rise to it or it's blocked him. I was like, I don't have to deal with this boy. Block. That's it. I think I don't dislike him. I have no feelings about the boy at all. He might be like a lovely, lovely guy, and he might just be doing something bad. I was like, I don't need that in my life. I'm going to block it. And that tends to be an approach. If you get any negativity, come on, let's go back in. Block. And that's it. I don't think about it.
There's 2 things with social media. I block people who are instantly, if they come at me, I just block them and move on. I have no time to write to reviews. And secondly, I met my best friend through Twitter, my friend Stephen, and he is like, I've known him for like over 10 years. I live in his house, I've been to his wedding. He's my best friend, and I met him through Twitter. And I think you have to pick and choose who you speak to. Like I know Alex has got a really good, he's got a lot of good friends on there that he's met through Twitter, and I've got a few people that I'm dying to meet because I've met them online. But on the other hand, you have to sort of go. You have to pick and choose who you follow and what your feed is telling you. You know, if you follow people just for the sake of it, you're going to hear a lot of views you don't agree with, and that's fine. You don't want to hear the same noise over and over again. You don't want to hear yourself. You want to hear. Sometimes I want to hear someone the opposite of you. I've got a friend who's a Tory. I won't say his name, but he's a Tory, and that's his problem to deal with. But I still follow and I'm still friends with him because it's nice to hear a different point of view. and I'm grown enough to go, I'm adult enough to go, not my opinion, well done for you, you being you, but, and there's always a massive but, I don't agree with what you're saying. And we still get on, we're still friends, and I like that. I like having that challenge or that voice that sometimes goes, I don't like that, but we're still friends, as it were. We can't agree with everything that everyone is. Even my best friend today, I don't agree with some of the things he says, but you're still friends with them, you know. And it's nice to hear something bounce back every now and then that you go, wait a minute, what did you just say? You know, and I like that because you don't want to be in a vacuum, do you?
I think. Sorry, go on. You go, Gordon.
Sorry, is that streetwiseness? And like you, I just realise I keep saying in it like I'm like from London or something. What's that about? Sorry, I was really self-conscious about that. I was like, so
go on, rude boy.
No, but I think what you're saying there is that you know enough about that person, so you've made an informed decision that even though they're saying something that you don't quite like, and Matt, you kind of said there, like, he said one thing, but you have no other problem with him. He might have been a nice person. You've rationalised that in your head to be fair, but I think that's where. So and again, something you said, Matt, about Snapchat, and the thing I struggled with as a parent was my older two going on Snapchat, because I was well aware of the being in the work that I'm of the different types of social media and how they work. And I've never been on Snapchat, but I know that there's no trail. Like, you can post something and it disappears, but people can screenshot it, so you can think that it's gone, but it'll still be there in some form. And I've had the fear with them, and that's the main thing that they use is Snapchat. And I don't know if it's because of that, because I used to, when they were younger, 13, 14-year-old, I would say you can have social media, but I need the logins so that I can check every now and again, just like I'll sit with them and check it, and we can go through it. It wasn't to invade their privacy or anything like that. It was to make sure they're safe online. They were still too young, in my opinion. And I know some people would disagree with that, and it's their life and blah, blah, but the age they were.
My brother did that with his daughter, and he said, you can go on this and go on that, but I need to know if someone adds a new friend or you get added to this, it'll give me a notification. And I think it's a really healthy way of doing this, so not some rando joins their chat and starts talking to it. He knows who's being added to. He's not looked, but he knows who is added to a chat, and I think that's really healthy. So don't see that as a negative.
We went through I didn't go through it. Where I worked for a while was a guy that kept bringing up that he kept seeing these videos about people trapping people that were messaging people they thought were underage, right? And it is unbelievable how much that goes on. Like, I could not believe how frequent. And in Edinburgh as well, like, there were videos of people at Waverley Steps and stuff getting like caught. There was actually a guy that worked night shift and somewhere I worked got caught and as a security guard, and it's so bad, like, it's unbelievable. And that's where social media it's a dark side of it. And that's where when the kids and the different platforms like Snapchat, I find I really struggled, and I still do, and I still often wonder who are they speaking to, what are they saying. And just again going back to that streetwiseness of, like, you've got, all you can do is educate them and educate yourself on how to determine if this person is a genuine enough person. Like, I've never met you guys in the flesh yet, but I know, like, we met on Twitter. I messaged Matt about coming onto this. You didn't know me, Matt. I could have came on here and started getting my wagger out on the camera or something like that.
Yeah,
and
that's what I was hoping for, but disappointed
again. Zoom, by the way.
Would that be on Longbangers or
Shortbangers? Definitely Shortbangers. But
I've been my friend Stephen for 10 years. He's not going to cock up yet. This is really boring now. Come on, it's really annoying. Go on, sorry.
No, but it's just like you took a punt there, but obviously I imagine you maybe looked at my previous tweets or something like that. Maybe just have a quick check. You might not have, but them, like, you invited me into the WhatsApp chat, and like, even though I've never met you guys, I can know just from that WhatsApp chat that who's a decent guy and who isn't. like you are, but I could very well and very easily identify someone who's a bit of a bad egg, like, and I think we all could, and I know we'd punt them out of there if it came to that. And I've had that so many times before, where you meet someone online, like you join a chat with someone else that's set up, and there's so many people in there, and someone starts saying something, you're like, I didn't like this person, and I think again, it's just that
I think that comes
the
with
whole
age,
thing
though.
with social media is knowing.
Yeah.
Sorry. When else come?
I think when you're the age of children, they don't understand. They think everyone's being friendly and getting on with them, but they don't realise that when you get to a certain age, they go, that's a red flag, and I hate that red flag, but that's a red flag. That's a bit weird. Don't like what they just said there. And I think you have to learn that. And you can say to someone, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. They've got to learn that themselves. They've got to hear, what.
I think should be taught in schools. Like social media awareness should be taught in schools.
Yeah.
But schools are still set in their old ways of teaching trigonometry and stuff that nobody's got to fucking never use unless you want to do a career.
I beg to differ. No, I'm joking. Matty, I was going to ask you, like, see how you're saying about people recognising you and coming up to you, and have you ever had anybody say something to you that you've thought, oh, fuck you, like, shut up, or has it all been mainly positive?
I think, mate, that happens all the fucking.
I mean, I know, like, I listen to a lot of your podcasts, and I would know that if I'd seen you on a bus, I would know never to come up to you. Same with you, Scotty, because that's your bit. I know that.
No,
about that. Like,
to be honest, I probably made that sound like it happens more often than it does. Like, no, nobody's. Nothing. Like, I can't get it. Nah, I've not had that experience yet. I'm sure it'll come one time. Somebody's come up and tell me one time that. Yeah, but I could just be lucky. There will be a time where somebody will come up and go, "The podcast shite," and the opinions are shite. And I think I said this early doors when we did it. I think it's not that I care, right? Obviously, you want everybody to think it's good or wants to listen to it, but I guess it's not everybody's cup of tea. Like, I don't like every podcast that's out there. I don't like every film or every song and all the rest of it. So,
to me, if someone said that to me, I'd be like, at least you're listening. At least I've got your number on my ratings. That's all I need. Carry on listening, carry on hating me. You're adding to my digits, and that's the way I would think about it. Instead of going, "What do you mean? It's crap." I'd be like, "Carry on listening and hating. It's all good."
Aye, that's that.
Fair enough.
It will happen one day. Somebody will come up and say you're a dick, or I hate what you do, and I'll go.
I know people hate follow me and hate watch me, but that's fine.
I think it's very unlikely that someone will do that, though, because again, I think that's what social media has done to us. Where, like we were talking about earlier, I was like, I reckon the people that would say stuff to you on social media wouldn't they come up to you Easter Road and say it to your face.
Nah, social media isn't real life. That's what.
No, they think people think they can say what they want, like hidden behind a screen, and there'll never be any repercussions to it.
Even with a TV program, we hate watching a TV program, so we can slag it off. Like, a current example was, and then that Sex and the City spin-off. I'm sorry for being a terrible cliche gay tonight. There's a Sex and the City spin-off, and everyone hated it, but they carried on watching it. And that's the thing with these days, when you watch something and go, I'm going to watch this so I can slag it off. I'm going to listen to this podcast so I can slag it off. And I don't understand that. Like, I watched every episode and I hated it. But I didn't slag it off online because there's a certain bit in people going, this is awful, I can't wait to tell everyone how awful it is. Where does that come from? Where is that? What is that sort of need to fill yourself with hate and rage?
It makes you feel better, doesn't it? Belittling someone else makes you feel better. That's Love Island. That's like the main premise of Love Island is for people to rip the piss out of everybody that's on Love Island.
I've got that. I've got about 5 things blocked on Twitter or keywords blocked, and that's one of them. Kim Kardashian's the other. Piers Morgan's the other one.
If you ever watch The Chase, go on Twitter and do #The Chase while it's on. It's vile, and that's a daytime TV program that's on every day. People are going, look at her face, look at her dress, she's stupid, she's like, and they hate watch it every single day. And honestly, the hashtag is vile. But I love looking at it going, The teeth, and that's just aspect of being human, isn't it? When you want to be a bit snide, a bit snatchy, but it depends on how far you take it,
Yeah. Okay, wait. On that note, I think we're out of time for tonight. Another cracking conversation, guys. We will be back with Longbangers tomorrow night. I think we've got the boy from Hibernian Retro coming on and joining us, Matt Faulkner, who did a great wee bit on the Terrace podcast on the Terrace TV show, View for the Terrace. If anybody watched that a wee while ago with his collection of Hibs memorabilia. So I'm not sure how that'll translate into a podcast, but he's a nice guy, so we're going to get him on. And then we'll have short bangers midweek next week, so start firing in questions for that. Alex, Scott, Gordon, thanks very much for your time tonight, guys. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next time.
County line, I pledged upon. Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't drink what I know.